Well, this election season, you probably noticed maybe just a few political signs out there, just about everywhere you look.
Yeah, and some viewers ask us if there are rules to where and when you can place a campaign sign in the Tar Heel state. So WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg is checking it out in today's Verify.
People who place political signs along the road hope to sway others to vote for their candidate, but there are some rules you'll need to follow before you place your signs. Let's verify. Our sources are attorney Gary Monty in North Carolina law. Monty says anyone can place a political sign on a state-mandated road. The signs just have to be in compliance with state law.
They have to fit certain size and shape configurations, and so long as they fit within those sizes and shapes, they're okay.
But Monty says there is a time limit in which you can place your signs outside.
Basically, the time frame where on a state-maintained road, a state road, you can put political signs is 30 days before the start of early voting.
But if you're looking to display a sign in Mecklenburg County, Monty says the rules are a little more strict.
Our ordinance here in Charlotte says that signs cannot be placed within 11 feet of the edge of pavement, can't be placed in medians, can't be placed in traffic islands, utility poles, sidewalks, things like that. There's a very specific ordinance.
Monty says people are allowed to keep up political signs up to 30 days after the election. After that date, he says anyone can start taking down those signs. But before that,
and it's a crime if somebody removes it.
With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Well, if you have something you would like verified, just email us at verify@wcnc.com. A controversial development in the Elizabeth neighborhood is at a standstill this morning after Charlotte City leaders decided to pump the brakes on building hundreds of apartment units. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane live in Elizabeth with details on the proposed plan and concerns from neighbors. Richard?
Yeah, good morning, Sarah. Good Tuesday morning, everyone. And like you said, pumping the brakes. That's an issue that the city says they're now looking at when they're considering the zoning here. They say the traffic situation is something that they want to assess before making that final decision. Now, as we can tell you, at least for now, the proposed project to build an apartment building in this Elizabeth neighborhood on land on Piedmont and Sunnyside is on hold for 30 days. The building would be 85 feet tall on Central Avenue and 65 feet tall in the center and 50 feet tall on the outer edges that face houses. One of the residents we spoke to says the additional 315 apartments would turn their quiet neighborhood into a driveway, and it shouldn't happen. Last night, the city says that's something it wants to consider before making any final zoning changes.
I'm going to recommend that we go back yet again and work with the community members on how we can address really the large issue is around the traffic light and ensuring that traffic doesn't back up into this single family neighborhood because there's not a safe way to exit out of this corner.
So as you heard it there, it seems that they're just working on a traffic solution, not stopping this project from moving forward. Of course, we'll keep you posted and have details on every twist and turn in this particular story as it comes to our attention. Right now, we're right here in the Elizabeth neighborhood of Charlotte. This is Richard Devane. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Richard, thanks.
WCNC Charlotte is making a difference with your help. When you share your news tips, we go to work.
I sent you that email. 15 minutes later, you're responding to me.
When a Charlotte woman battling cancer lost her health coverage, we demanded answers.
Within hours of WCNC Charlotte asking questions, the agency responsible quickly corrected its mistake.
Let us get to work for you.
Reach out to news tips at WCNC.com. WCNC Charlotte, news that impacts you.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and tonight a Charlotte woman is sharing her battle.
That's right. Having tested positive for the BRCA2 gene mutation, she knew breast cancer would be part of her own story, but didn't expect it to be a personal fight, at least not this soon.
Trying to keep up with Shady Copeland.
Wow, that's your slow pace.
Would be a challenge for anyone.
I pretty much came back to work, full time, 6 hours or so a day in January.
The interior designer had to put projects on hold in the fall of 2023 after finding a lump last September, following 9 years of mammograms and MRIs every 6 months.
Oh man, it was tough.
She had had a plan.
A prophylactic mastectomy to, clear any chances of getting breast cancer.
So, at 39 years old, earlier than she anticipated, the mom of 2 young boys got the double mastectomy, ringing the bell at Novant Cancer Center after 5 months of chemo. Then again, after several weeks of daily radiation. Novant oncologist Dr. Kimberly Strickland says knowing family history and early detection was key in Copeland getting the treatment she needs.
That's actually how Shady found out that she had this specific mutation. Without that knowledge, she would not have been getting screened and most likely would have been found to have cancer at a much later stage because of that.
These days, the avid runner is training for the New York Marathon, more for herself.
One of the things that's kind of driven me the most is my family. So to be able to show them that I'm still strong, still tough, and I think that helps me to feel like I'm alleviating a little bit of their pain and worry.
Not that we wish her, not that she needs it, but we wish her well as she trains to cross that finish line. Good luck to you, Shady. Copeland's raised about $14,000 so far for her marathon fundraiser. That money going to cancer research.
And if you want to learn more about her journey or donate to her participant page, we'll put that link on our website.
Well, thanks for joining us here at 5:30. I'm Colin Mayfield.
And I'm Vanessa Rufus. Tonight, hard work continues to get help to victims of Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina, especially as we look to colder weather in the mountains.
And we've seen that with our effort to share the warmth, of course, along with the help of thousands of donations from you. And today, the Carolina submarine veterans, Lowe's, and our team here at WCNC Charlotte came together to continue the campaign.
WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre is in Avery County to tell us more.
As the temperatures drop,
everybody's familiar with the mountains in the wintertime.
the need by those impacted by Helene rises in the mountains.
It looks bleak at this point, but everybody recovers from this. It takes time, it takes energy. You got lots of friends and neighbors in North Carolina.
That's why WCNC Charlotte launched our Share the Warmth campaign, a campaign that caught the eye of the Carolina-based submarine veterans, looking to help with a mighty $10,000 donation.
I really wanted to be part of that.
So we contacted our friends at Lowe's to help us provide a much-needed resource.
Lowe's decided to come up and double down on our deal.
They not only matched the donation, they doubled it to provide pallets worth of warmth.
Heaters, propane tanks, and carbon monoxide detectors that will go to families in need.
Seeing people just looking for basic necessities has been both inspiring as well as incredibly sad. And the inspiring part for me is just the resiliency of the people of Western North Carolina.
The Carolina-based submarine veterans have a special connections to the mountains.
We have a monument on the top of Moonshine Mountain in Burnsville, and so we consider everybody in the mountains friends and family.
Friends and Family Base Commander Rick Pettit says the Carolina submarine vets will always stand by.
We're used to volunteering, we're always there to help, and it's just the nature of us. It's our personalities.
The local fire departments in Avery County will distribute the donated supplies in the days and weeks ahead. Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
When severe weather impacts the Carolinas, you can help us tell the story.
Our radar helps to keep you weather aware, along with images like these. Here's how to send us a video or picture of conditions impacting your area.
Make sure you're in a safe spot. Take a picture or a video, then send it to the Near Me feature on our WCNC News app.
Your image could be part of our weather impact coverage. Download the WCNC News app now.
Fall is in full swing, and while most leaves are still on trees, it won't be long until they all start falling. They sure have in my yard.
But is it best to rake them up, or can you actually get away with leaving them there on your lawn? WCNC Charlotte's Megan Bragg checks it out in today's Verify.
When the leaves start to fall on your lawn, should you rake them up or keep them on the ground? To get the facts, we went to Beth, who is an assistant district manager at the Davie Tree Charlotte office and the National Audubon Society. Beth says when it comes to leaves falling, they can act like a fertilizer if you keep them on the ground.
Their natural decay kind of acts as a fertilizer, so that's going to help those trees. It's also a habitat for animals and pollinators and all that stuff.
The National Audubon Society also says the leaves are important because when they rot, they enrich the soil, and that provides places for bugs and birds to forage for food. However, if you are in an urban setting,
you don't want to have leaves all over your grass, especially after we aerate and seed, because then the seed's not going to germinate. So you need to rake up those.
He says instead of throwing away those leaves, put them at the base of the trees or in places where there's already mulch.
So there's no single answer as to the best way to handle fallen leaves, but if you can put them to good use, the birds and the bees will thank you. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
If you have something you would like verified, just email us at verify@wcnc.com.
We have a live look for you tonight at App State in Boone. Obviously, school's back in session, but students there are back in class, of course, after Hurricane Helene just washed out roads and flooded much of the student housing on campus. WCNC Charlotte's Michelle Bowden spoke to students from the Charlotte area who dealt with a mudslide in their home and are now grateful to be back at school.
A lot of students at App State are adjusting to a new norm. So many were impacted by the flooding, had to find new housing. These students, though, in this story, they actually had a mudslide come into their house.
Claire Grove narrowly missed being buried under this mess.
And around 10:45 that morning, a landslide came down from the street and the hill above us and took out my bedroom and our front porch. And so we all grabbed what we could and evacuated down to a parking garage a little ways down the street.
But had you been in your bedroom, you would have been engulfed by mud, basically, or?
Yes, ma'am. I would have been, well, my bed is kind of all twisted up. I probably would have looked a little bit like a pretzel coming out of that.
The App State student who grew up in Hickory lived in a house with a bunch of guys just 3 minutes off campus.
We heard a bunch of cracking noises, and the three of us that were in the living room, and my dog was in the living room with us also, we turn around and just see it all just get wiped out.
Forbes Wallace, a Myers Park High graduate and junior now at App State, wasn't far away in another house.
When I woke up in the morning, I walked outside and I was like, all right, the rain's pretty hard. The water's like maybe 4 or 5 inches in our yard. And so I went to check our basement, and you saw the first step to walk down and it was water. And so our whole property had flooded.
He is grateful, though. His house didn't suffer any more damage.
Other than having to replace all of our furniture, we were good. We were very fortunate.
School was canceled for 3 weeks, and both guys went back several times to volunteer with cleanup efforts across the college town.
I think, honestly, the amount of support that Boone has just offered in general is unreal. I mean, the other day, people went out to volunteer, but they said there were 1,000 people at 7:30 a.m.
It's been hard for me to wrap my head around still. I'm still trying to figure out what really happened, and I'm really just glad to be here right now and not have been in my room at the time.
Rowe has found new housing. Both students are now back in class. The bad news with all of this, though, the students who were impacted by the flooding, for the most part, did not have insurance and are having to cover their own losses. Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
We've got mostly cloudy skies out there, kind of a crisp, cool fall day. We've got that northeast wind. Tonight, we will see temperatures fall back into the 30s in the mountains from Banner Elk to Newland, the Blowing Rock, Boone, Todd, Fleetwood area. We'll be in the mid-to-upper 30s. Now, as we go down in elevation, temperatures will probably be generally in the 40s because of that blanket of clouds, not allowing us to cool down as much as we could. If we do see breaks at all, that certainly would allow for these temperatures to maybe drop a degree or two lower than what we're seeing right now. But generally, what we've seen today, temperature is going to remain that way overnight. The high temperature was 63. That was briefly. The morning low was 56. We could be below that, though, before we get to midnight. The normal's now around 70 and 46. Cloudy and cool overnight. We'll keep those clouds probably through the first half of tomorrow. The sunshine will return, and then warmer temperatures moving in for the later part of the week. Tomorrow, those temperatures rebound back into the upper 60s, maybe close to 70 degrees in a few spots. It just depends how quickly the clouds can get out of here. That northeast wind is going to be with us for a while, so the clouds may take a while to break up. We will see additional clouds Tuesday as well, but we are going to see the temperature start to warm up. You see the cold front back to the west. We're getting back to a very dry pattern. Yesterday was our first measurable rain in 28 days. we're going to go probably a little bit longer before we see more rain, because the next 7 days are looking incredibly dry as well. In fact, the rainfall chances outside of some mist or drizzle with these morning low clouds, you're not going to see much precipitation, with temperatures staying pretty mild for the rest of the week. We're back to that warm and kind of dry pattern. In the tropics, we're keeping an eye on a small area down here that could develop in the next 7 days. Probably by the end of the week, we'll have something down there possibly developing tropical depression. But right now, the high pressure of the United States would keep everything away from us. In fact, with high pressure dominating the East Coast, that does a couple of things. It keeps us warm, keeps us dry, and also deters any tropical activity from heading our way. You see that front trying to approach going into the weekend. Looks like it runs out of steam, though, by Friday into Saturday, but certainly could be our next chance of rain if we get enough moisture. But look how persistent the high pressure system is over the southeast, and that's why you see these above average temperatures really starting late this week and into the first full weekend of November. I would expect temperatures to be in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees when we should be in the upper 60s to near 70. Got to keep an eye on the fire danger. Again, this week, we'll be watching the high winds, very low dew points and humidity, very dry fuels developing. So 2 things to watch this week will be the dry conditions combining with some of this warmer air. And you can see for Halloween, we're going to be pushing 80 degrees, and that 80-degree heat will last all the way into Friday.
Weather impacts everything. Stay prepared with WCNC Charlotte's Weather Impact Team.
It's a raging torrent coming down King Street right now.
Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich and the entire Weather Impact Team delivers the wind.
Brief showers overnight.
The impact.
Winds 60